They just say restore the values of the ANC. Let the ANC be what we used to know it when we were growing up, hearing on the news about O.R. Tambo, about Albert Luthuli, and many other leaders of the ANC. This is what they are crying for. They are just crying for leadership.
Are you giving the ANC leadership a particular amount of time to respond to those demands?
We did not give a clear time frame because we believe it should be an ongoing process and we'll attend to it.
Right, thank you very much there, Mr. Ronald Lamola, who is saying they're quite satisfied that they have now handed over that memorandum of demands to the ANC. Of course, they'd be hoping for some kind of feedback, no specific time frame that has been given at this point for those demands to be responded to. We saw the ANC's SG move back towards the direction towards Luthuli House there. Certainly, while these members or these protesters of the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House are now saying that they've achieved their goal, they wanted to hand over that list of demands, and certainly that has now taken place. A massive police contingent, of course, remains here at this time. You can see the supporters of the ANC who are bussed in here as well from Mpumalanga, as well as the Free State, who was saying a bit earlier on they did not want the Secretary General to come and receive this memorandum of demand, saying that those who are protesting against the very movement which they belong to do not deserve to be in the party itself. So the visuals that you are seeing now live on your screen are of the supporters who came here to what they call defend Luthuli House, and many of those who are participating in the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House have now left under heavy police guard at the Beyers Naudé Square here, where the ANC's Secretary General had received that memorandum of demands. Just to bring you up to speed, in case you're joining us right now, is that memorandum, of course, includes that President Jacob Zuma resign, as well as the National Executive Committee and the disbanding of that Fees Commission. You'll of course recall it had been a very contentious issue with regard to the university fees in South Africa, a major bone of contention, I must say, in the run-up as well to the recent local government elections. And certainly this group would be wanting the ANC to really respond to its demands. What you're seeing now also, the large police presence remains, this line of police officers making sure that a sense of normality does return here to the Johannesburg CBD, as many of these ANC supporters are now marching through the streets here near the Beyers Naudé Square. If you just missed it, the Secretary General of the ANC has just accepted that memorandum of demands from the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House. They're now marching towards Beyers Naudé Square at the moment, and essentially saying that they will continue to defend the ANC and, of course, defend what they're saying is their president, who should remain in power until the next election. They're going to protest now throughout the streets of the Johannesburg CBD at the moment. Police certainly have their hands full. As you can see, they're running towards the protesters to make sure that they don't disrupt the traffic in the Johannesburg CBD, and really unsuccessfully at this point trying to move some of the crowds back to ensure that they remain within this area here at the Beyers Naudé Square. And they're trying to form a human shield there, as you can see. That human shield, of course, trying to keep those protesters away from certain sections of the Johannesburg CBD.
Right, as you can see, we've got live coverage coming to you right there.
You can see the pushing and the shoving at this point. Police managed to get the protesters, or rather supporters, who came here today to say they're defending Luthuli House back into the Beyers Naudé Square. to ensure that traffic does not come to a standstill, and a sense of normality does return here following, of course, the proceedings that we've been talking about since this morning about the handing over of that memorandum of demands. Police certainly have their hands full trying to get this crowd under control here at this stage. But I think I'm going to bring in my colleague there, Aldrin St-Pierre, just to chat a bit about the visuals that we saw a bit earlier on. Aldrin St-Pierre, if you could just come here and join us at this point. Certainly scenes that we saw, police again, just before we get to you there, Aldrin, police again running through the different sections in the streets to ensure that the protesters don't make their way. They're charging towards different parts of the CBD right now, clearly unable to contain the situation at this point.
Well, these are live visuals coming through from the CBD in Johannesburg. Police have their hands full trying to protect the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House supporters who are now facing those who are saying that they will defend Luthuli House. As you can see right now, the police really have their hands full.
Well, the visuals that you're seeing right now, police again trying to form a human shield to ensure that these protesters do not march throughout the Johannesburg CBD. And quite difficult, I must say, for them to contain the situation.
It's quite a difficult day, I have to say, covering this.
Mantashe is being escorted by members of the MKMVA, the Military Veterans Association of the Umkhonto weSizwe, as well as members of the ANC Youth League. It seems as if he has received that memorandum, and they're escorting him either
the visuals
or
that you're
away
seeing on
from
your
Luthuli
screen
House. Griselda Lewis reports.
Are of police here forming a human shield to try and ensure that the protesters don't make their way throughout the Johannesburg CBD. Shortly after the ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe had received that memorandum of demands from the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House protesters, they then took to the streets, police having their hands full, running through the streets of the Johannesburg CBD to ensure that the situation here does not get out of control. Aldrin, certainly scenes that did become a bit chaotic a bit earlier on.
Well, I have to say this is unprecedented, Griselda, considering that these are all ANC members and supporters that are fighting and clashing amongst each other. You're facing a situation where you have members and supporters of the ANC who are not happy with the current leadership, and of course there are those who are happy, but now their grievances are being taken to the streets and they are showing that they're unhappy with the decision taken by some of what they call disgruntled ANC members and supporters who try to occupy Luthuli House. Last week as well, when we spoke to Lisigo, who is the chairperson of the ANC Youth League in Tshwane, he said that this amounts to a coup if these members of Occupy Luthuli House think that they can just charge into the building and demand that the leadership of the ANC be changed without following all due processes, which means there must be an elective conference. Definitely unprecedented scenes here out of the Johannesburg CBD. ANC members versus ANC members. It's something quite extraordinary. The last time I think
I'll tell you what, Aldrin St-Pierre called it unprecedented. It certainly is. The ANC against the ANC in the CBD of Johannesburg, with people saying they want the leadership to change and some people saying they want the leadership to stay as it is. We go on to other news making headlines today. The two-day G20 summit in China closes today with the Hangzhou Action Plan. The declaration is expected to contain steps to ensure the global economy is on a new growth path. Yesterday saw delegates center their discussions around the...
Much for your time. Let's just chat very briefly about the scenes that we saw outside Luthuli House today, where you had ANC members marching against their own political party. We've heard from the president of the Youth League saying you're going to continue to defend the ANC and its headquarters.
Yeah. Look, I don't think it's members of the ANC that have been protesting. For me, they qualify to be defined as hooligans, as lumpens who just want to distract our movement, because members of the African National Congress, in their own right, they know how to behave. When we have problems, they know how they must take those problems up. We have a structural approach that we must use in the ANC. We have processes in the organization that we must follow when we have issues. You don't just come and bargain in Luthuli House and decide you are marching against Zuma. Zuma is not the only leader of the African National Congress. President Zuma belongs to a collective. And hence we're saying we don't think those are members of the ANC. Members of the ANC who belongs to a branch, when they have an issue, they must take it to a branch. When there's an issue in the branch, they must take it to a region, region to a province, province to a national structure. Now, you don't wake up and decide to march. And we're actually not even more worried about Lamula because we are attending him. In weeks to come, as the African National Congress Youth League, we'll have to declare our stand against hooligans and lumpans who are camouflaging under the banner of the African National Congress.
But these
we are going to take a stand.
But these are card-carrying members of the ANC who are saying that the structures which they believed in have failed them.
They may be card-carrying members of the ANC, but they may not have the interest of the ANC at heart. Now, it's different to be a card-carrying member of the ANC and a member in a true sense of an organization. When you're a member of the ANC, you defend it when it's cold, when it's hot. You don't wake up because today it's cold, you decide you are no longer a member of the ANC. How do you become a member of your own family and march against your own family? It has never been like that. Now, our stand is one, is that we'll pronounce ourselves as an organization against everyone who's been part of these activities. In fact, we are more worried about those funders that are out there who are underground, because this thing is not innocent that is happening here. We know that there are people who have an agenda to overthrow the government of the African National Congress. There are people who have an agenda to overthrow President Zuma. Now, we must tell them out there, we remain unshaken. Zuma is not going anywhere. You leave the conference with his speech and you'll throw a nice party for the president.
So are you saying that the memorandum of demands which they submitted is useless, or will those issues actually be taken into account, considering that one of the issues that they're calling for is for the Fees Commission itself to be disbanded? Now, that speaks directly to your members as young people.
Our view is that that memorandum, in fact, must not even be entertained, must be taken back to branches where they belong. Lamula belongs to a branch. It's not special for him to get an attention of a national office of the ANC. He must start. We are going to refer that memorandum to a branch. It must go to a region and be entertained to a province, because we must teach him how the organization is run. He used to be part of this organization. He used to be part of Luthuli House. So today he can't behave as if he doesn't know how we run an organization. And they're not a proper organized group to come and talk about fees here. We have a structure that was formed. We have a committee that was formed when there was a march of fees must fall. And that committee is the one that has the right to speak on behalf of those young people that were marching against it. Now, that's why I'm saying you can see it, that it's a clear agenda of lumped proletariat who are sitting out there, who are plotting against the defeat of the African National Congress. And that's why I'm saying we're assuring them, we're not scared of them. We're here, hence we're here today, we're waiting for them. We'll match them pound for pound.
How soon are we expecting to see those disciplinary action being taken against some of those members? We heard your president say that action will be taken against the ANC Youth League members who participated in this march.
You know, you media, you know very well, you have always been our friends when you come to our meetings. Actually, even when you are not invited, you come. So we are going to invite you officially. That's why I said in a few weeks we are going to have a proper structure where the African National Congress Youth League must process these decisions. In fact, such people, they don't qualify to be suspended. They must be expelled in an organization. One rotten potato, you know, there's an element of creating a problem in the entire bag. Now, before you even go to that level, you must take it out and take it where it belongs. We're not surprised. Ronald Lamula today is wearing a T-shirt that says economic freedom in our lifetime. We know what he represents underground today.
Are you literally saying that Lamula, through the Economic Freedom in Our Lifetime T-shirts, you resolved on that program in 2011 at Galaga Estates at your conference? In your discussion document for the last conference, it was Economic Freedom in Our Lifetime. Have you abandoned that program?
We have not abandoned. So why today is behaving as a superstar? Why is he only wearing that T-shirt today? Why has he suspended that T-shirt for all these years? When have you seen wearing that T-shirt?
What are you implying about Lamula?
I'm implying that a member of the ANC can't behave like him. He's behaving like those who are sitting there with red berets and with blue T-shirts. He's not different from them. So a leader of the ANC does not behave like Lamula. Hence I'm saying I don't think he's a member of the ANC. In fact, we must go and verify properly if he's still a member in good standing of the Youth League and both of the ANC. A member of the ANC doesn't behave like that. I mean, especially when we have led the African National Congress Youth League at that level, that Lamula has led it.
Sorry, was
Right, the Treasurer General there of the ANC Youth League there, Regin Gambinde, saying that they will resolve in just a couple of weeks on how to proceed with some of their members who participated in this hashtag Occupy Luthuli House March, going as far as to say they don't deserve to be suspended, but they should actually be expelled from the African National Congress and the Youth League, of course, there. But if you missed it a bit earlier on, the ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe officially receiving those memorandum of demands, and on the part of the Youth League, as you heard there from Regin Gambinde, it doesn't certainly seem like they will be receiving any attention from the part of the Youth League, saying that that should actually go back to the structures where it should have been discussed to begin with. But what we do understand as well is that the meeting of the top six taking place inside Luthuli House does continue, and we're also expecting to hear in the next couple of hours or even in the next couple of days how the ANC plans to resolve the issue of some of its members which they have labelled as disgruntled. Let me bring in my colleague Aldrin St. Pierre there as we come to a close on what's just taken place here in the Johannesburg CBD. Unprecedented, Aldrin, the ANC marching against its own, ANC members marching against its own political party. Judging from what Regin Gambinde said, do you think perhaps, any of the demands there will be addressed in particular?
I think what will be very difficult for the ANC to look into those demands of, for instance, that entire NEC should resign. That's a difficult thing because the ANC would argue that no, you need to go to an elective conference before something like that could happen. And it's only at an elective conference where you take a decision on who must stand down and so forth. Remember, there were issues around people comparing what's happening currently to back in 2007, 2008. Remember the war between President Jacob Zuma and well as Thabo Mbeki at the time, which led to Thabo Mbeki being recalled. And some are saying that with the charges that the president is facing and all the other issues that surrounds the president, that the president should resign, he should be recalled, just like Thabo Mbeki was recalled. And now the thing is, the ANC is arguing, no, that cannot happen because unlike Thabo Mbeki, you have President Jacob Zuma, who's not only president of the country, but is also president of the ANC. So we'll have to wait and see what exactly will be happening. And I wonder whether the Secretary General of the ANC will table this memorandum of demands at this month's NEC meeting.
But is it likely that that very memorandum inside Luthuli House at this point will certainly be discussed? Because this morning, when we saw some of the ANC leadership arrive for the regular Monday meeting, certainly this must have been one of the bones of contention. It had only just been resolved that the ANC Secretary General should in fact come and receive this memorandum of demands.
Yeah, well, that's quite interesting, and that's the other thing. What you should know actually is that the ANC's top six is currently meeting, one person is not there, and that's President Jacob Zuma. President Jacob Zuma is out of the country. Remember, he's at the G20 summit in China. But even though the ANC does not resolve on this issue, one thing is for sure, that it's something that you cannot ignore. I can already see the headlines tomorrow, ANC versus ANC. That's what's taking place here in the Johannesburg CBD. And as we said earlier, and we've been emphasizing, it's unprecedented that something like this is taking place.
Does this set the tone for the ANC and the way that it moves forward? We've seen the ANC versus the ANC. Certainly those will be the headlines tomorrow, even later this afternoon. But does this set the tone for the ANC's elective conference, the policy conference coming up, the divisions within the African National Congress, which the ANC itself does acknowledge are there, and they're certainly deep-seated?
Well, if you look at what the SACP said, the SACP is calling for a consultative conference. And the emphasis there is consultative. Let's take stock of what has happened over the elections. Let's take stock of the disunity, the factionalism that the ANC is currently facing. And this is something that has been supported by the ANC in Gauteng as well. They had their PEC this past weekend, and they spoke about that. Let's go to an elective conference. No, not an elective conference, but consultative. Let's have a consultative conference instead of electing. And the emphasis from the ANC, even when I was speaking to Paul Mashatile, is that when you go to a conference not united, the outcome will be terrible, because what you will be dealing with is factionalism, and the status quo will continue.
Well, certainly remains to be seen there, together with my colleague Aldrin St. Pierre, as we're coming to you live from the Johannesburg CBD. Many of the protesters at this point have dispersed. We saw the members of the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House really left under heavy police guard here as well. Very few of the ANC members and supporters who came here saying that they're here to defend Luthuli House and the ANC remain here. Still a very large police presence. If we could just pan our camera towards that direction at the moment. These are the scenes that still remain in the Johannesburg CBD here at the moment, but we're not expecting much tension moving forward, as many of the members of the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House have now left. And I guess certainly what remains to be seen is how the top six that are meeting inside Luthuli House will resolve on how to take this particular issue forward, relating to the demands that have been brought forward by their own members, who are saying that the ANC is in serious trouble, that some of the issues that they tabled need to be addressed, and that perhaps what really broke the camel's back, if I may, is certainly the way that the ANC had performed in the last local government elections. Many of those who were participating, or the organizers of the hashtag Occupy Luthuli House, are saying the ANC's performance, poor performance in the last local government election, is certainly due to the fact that there is a leadership crisis within the African National Congress. But certainly remains to be seen how the ANC will deal with this issue and respond to some of the members which they have described as disgruntled. But it's back to you in studio for now. We'll certainly bring you more, if at all the situation does change here in the Johannesburg CBD, but it's back to you in studio for now. Well done, Yazi. Oh, yes, this thing is heavy, bro. Hey, mchana, yazi. Yazi le pipe ngangena ngayo underground. Kuze film ulife. Namanala bomvu ngani. Awubhemisela.
No, ngoba